One of the most annoying and unhelpful ideas when talking about fiction is the idea that you can't have an absolutely and objectively evil villain, villainous faction, or villainous species, and at the same time have that villain, faction, or species be complex. Prime, easy, low-hanging fruit real-life example, the Nazis. The Nazis were absolutely and objectively utterly evil, but not uncomplicatedly so. The Germans didn't just wake up one day and decide altogether that genocide would be a neat, fun little pastime for that weekend. Despite what your bored and unqualified high school history teacher or your Reddit echo chamber told you, there was actually a lot of highly specific context and history that led up to that point. Two things can be true at once. The Nazis were objectively evil, and also the Nazis weren't cartoon characters, but in fact people of a time, of a place, and of an experience. My two favourite kinds of characters to write are 1. The deeply flawed but ultimately good, borderline Byronic hero, and 2. The absolutely, utterly and despicably, but not uncomplicatedly, evil bastard. In one story, we get frequent flashbacks where the main villain serves as the main character's mentor, where he gives speeches and lessons, and one of the main points of these segments is the fact that nothing that he says is at all objectionable. Everything he says is objectively correct and entirely reasonable, but he is still absolutely evil, and not in a way that betrays anything that he says in his lessons. In another story, there is a race of eldritch, extraplanar monsters called Titans, which, if I had to describe in the simplest terms possible, I would describe as failed gods. I imagine them in a sort of Zadislaw Beksinski-esque style. You have no fucking idea how hard that is to say. Try saying that 10 times really fast, holy shit. They come from a universe outside of the one that the story is mainly set in, but sometimes break through into the main universe. They have human worshippers who expose themselves to the Titans' minds, mutilate themselves and wish to become Titans, or monstrous subspecies of Titans, because they believe that that is the greatest form of life to be, that that is the true natural state to be, and that it will free themselves from the constraints of being human. The Titans, their worshippers, and the monsters they create destroy everything in their path and replace whatever they destroyed with giant hideous megastructures that serve no purpose, giant beams and shafts of blank stone, staircases that lead to nowhere, etc., inspired by a mix of brutalism and hostile architecture like in nuclear waste zones in real life. And the kicker is, the Titans don't know why they do this, they just do it. The Titans also exist in opposition to the demons in my story. The Titans are entirely anti-human, while the demons, although evil, are pro-human. The demons embody human flaws, of excess or of deficiency, or are driven to spread those flaws to others, or embody concepts or philosophies that rely on the existence of humans. Demons can represent or spread lust, hatred, ignorance, war, pestilence, vanity, wrath, cowardice, gluttony, indulgence, apathy, etc. One of the most important demons in the story is Barbatos, the bearded lion. He is one of the philosophical demons, embodying the belief that the meaning of life is struggle. He targets underdogs or people who have been wronged or downtrodden, and gifts them just enough power in the form of unique magical artifacts to take revenge or to win whatever conflict they're involved in, but only barely enough so that the victory is still won through incredible pain. Barbatos doesn't care about who is in the right or wrong in the conflict. The only thing that matters is the struggle, the fight, and the transformation from the before state to the after. The demons are undeniably evil, but they are human in their evil, and they are firmly on the side of humanity existing. Thus, they stand on the side of humanity against the Titans, giving them magic, weapons, knowledge, and power in order to survive. I'm actually very proud of the distinction, and of my depiction of both Titans and demons. As I said, the Titans are inspired by Beksinski and Lovecraft, while the demons' physical forms are monstrous, but also very visceral and physical, very much inspired by Bosch and the Ars Goetia. Some of them depicted with stop motion or claymation, like Ray Harryhausen's monsters. Others animated with watercolours to really hammer home the difference and the otherness through style. And I have many more examples in specific characters, but that would stray into spoiler territory, and we've talked about me too much already, I think. So it really grinds my gears when I see people talk about the depictions of, for example, orcs in pre-bullshit Dungeons & Dragons, where orcs were entirely evil, or the depiction of demons in Freerun, where they are a completely unfeeling, monstrous predator species that mimic human emotions to predate, or the depiction of demons in the actual Devil May Cry series, where demons are, evil, and posit the cringe depiction of demons as basically fucking Middle Easterners in the Netflix show as somehow superior, because leftist art hasn't progressed past Bush bad. Oh yeah, America bad, military-industrial complex bad, war bad, but also keep the Ukraine and Middle East and forever wars going at all costs. Men bad, Middle East good, capitalism bad, but also suck off Netflix even when they fall short of the lowest bar possible. You're so smart and special for talking about these topics in the most basic bitch, juvenile, autofilatory ways possible. You go, girl. Aren't you smart for having deep and meaningful themes? Unlike the ha-ha, funny, woohoo, goofy pizza man that everybody loved for some unknown and unknowable reason. What a visionary you are, Apu man. New theory. Every embarrassing and retarded thing Adi Shankar does is all in an effort to replace his reputation as the Apu guy. It won't work. If you really struggle with the idea that absolute evil can be interesting as a concept, then I'm sorry, but you are not creative. But really, the arguments that evil species in fiction aren't interesting, or absolutely evil villains aren't interesting, are not the real argument. That's just the mot that they retreated to once we pushed back the evil species in fiction makes you a fascist Bailey. It's just the most recent front in the constant, never-ending march of problematization that we have to put up with because people would rather pretend to care about fictional problems than put effort into solving real problems. And because the downstream consequence of the phrase everything is political is, and always was meant to be, everything must be under the domination of my politics. Fuck's sake, it's so tiresome. Isn't it interesting, though, that the people who vilify you for enjoying the depiction of evil space bugs, or evil orcs, or, shudder gasp, evil demons, are perfectly a-okay with characterizing you as absolutely, uncomplicatedly, and irredeemably evil for the way you vote, or even just for the way that you engage with fandom.